All right, welcome back for the episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Friday, April 5th, 2024. If you're not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretradescom for swing trading alerts, analysis, and live day trading. Anyways, let's get into it today. So a lot of drama today, but really kind of nothing overall. Markets did have a pretty good recovery, though. We staged a pretty good bounce. We're going to close somewhere right around that 5,200 area, between 5,200 and 5,210. So a pretty good bounce, although, not really a squeeze, right? It looked like we were going to squeeze up in the morning. In fact, we did kind of, you could argue that we squeezed up a little bit. Kind of a V-shape type look there, but we had this little gap up open. I don't like those in bear, after bear moves, but the market did hold up. And you're going to see we went into 5180. I've been talking about that level a lot. So right there. And we just backed off of that. Broke up to 52, pulled back as we should. And then we pushed through. And then interestingly enough, bears did show up a little bit. So we go to our 618. You can see we tried to squeeze above that. And then we had kind of basically a textbook failed breakdown. Or excuse me, failed breakout. So there's your breakout candle. Low of that, close below, back test, and then it went down here. So right now, a lot of kicking and screaming, but really just a 5,200, 5,210 pin at the end of the day, which leaves the door open, right, for both sides essentially. Because on one hand, yeah, you didn't have bear continuation, but on the other hand, you didn't really threaten you didn't threaten this sell-off. Like we're going to close kind of in the middle of it, and you have potentially now a lower high. I'm in the camp that even with the bounce here, I think that it's likely a high is in, and if it's not like it's going to take that long. I mean, we're only 2.5% away, so I think risk reward here is pretty good on the sell side. Even with this bounce here, they got to make it look good, right? You go back to August. Or July of last year, we had that big engulfing, and then the next day, boom, popped right up. If you're gonna have a bear move, you got to get bulls on board, right? You got to get more bulls. If we were to gap down and gap and go to the downside today, we probably would have stalled out right here. Then we would have had a huge 100-point rally because you'd have too many puts on board. So you kind of it's got to be good if they're they got to make it look good if they're gonna take it back down here. Next week we've got a lot going on. CPI, I believe. OPEX is the week after. And we're going to start getting into earnings too. So a lot going on here. Markets are holding up right now, though. I would have thought if I did think if we did break below 5,200 significantly by the afternoon and didn't reclaim that, you might see some investors selling into the weekend because of the 3-day weekend with Israel, stuff or not 3-day weekend, but with the weekend coming up, investors not wanting to hold based off of that sell, is their geopolitical stuff. But, market's holding up. And, again, they're going to close it right in the middle there, 5,200 area. Keep everybody guessing. But bears still have life here, despite the bounce. And I think that there's just been a decent amount of technical damage done with that little slice yesterday. Still thinking this is a pretty good zone of support here. But we'll have to see what type of pattern it puts in. Do we go sideways for a few days like that? And then slice down, and with a gap down, that could change how the supports fall and so on and so forth. But overall, a lot of kicking and screaming, like I said, but pretty quiet day. Non-farm payroll this morning was, I talked about this too. I said I predicted we would bounce this morning in our Discord because we never took out the lows on that non-farm payroll, which that jobs report was insane. I was like, what is it, 303 versus 212 expected, and almost all of the jobs created were part-time. Maybe we could go into that, but whole other thing. But we never took out the lows, and usually if you're going to have a quick fake out like that, the bears are going to push it down pretty quickly, to the downside. And we never took out the lows, and we never even really challenged after this test. So I figured we'd bounce. I just wasn't sure if we were going to have a lower high and then go down. But either way, again, market's hanging in there, and we'll see what we get going into next week. I'd expect a little bit more neutrality here, unless we get news over, like big news over the weekend. But I'm still expecting There to now be a window here for bears to do some work here. Q's up 1.25. So they outperformed a little bit. Just take a look at Meta. I mean, this is just insane. Like, it's just like it never happened yesterday. Amazon, like it never happened yesterday. Just didn't even dent the uptrend. So some of these tech names were acting well. By the way, Tesla. We were in the trading room watching this. And I said, wow, Tesla's getting smoked. There must be news. I didn't see what the news was. Then all of a sudden I saw this big pop and I was like, all right, I'm going to go check Twitter. Like, and then I see Elon fighting with Reuters, so causing this big algo move. But NASDAQ holding up, bottom line here. This is my big line in the sand, though. Close below that negates, the last 2 months worth of trading. So that's a big line in the sand there for me. On the Qs, Russell 2000 up 77 cents. This was definitely weak earlier. Take a look at the RTY. This did make new lows today. Again, that jobs report, I should say interest rates are much more sensitive. The Russell is much more sensitive to interest rates and rates. Got a good bid today specifically on the short end. And again, we'll talk about that in a minute. But Russell 2000 getting a bounce after, there's the bell there. But getting a bounce after gapping down a little bit. Still watching this trend line here, maybe at 200. Might have one more hit in the cards here. Let's just see where we closed. Did they push it to 5,200? Okay, 5,204. Okay, so. All right. Diamond here after that big slice. This has done lots of technical damage, and this is definitely on the weaker side now. I'd be on watch here for a bear flag type look on the DIA because we just wiped out. I mean, if you bought the Dow on February 2nd, you're flat right now, excluding maybe like today's little pop, but as of yesterday's close anyway. So look at that. Actually, there's Jan 31st right there. Right, so we wiped all that out in one day. Usually indicates a powerful move. Good volume. So I'd be watching if this goes sideways here. It could set up a bear pattern. So I think the Dow is definitely vulnerable there. SMH here, again, we sliced that trend line yesterday. Didn't even really back check it today. And just an inside day there. Again, watch that for a bear pattern as well. We've been talking about the possibility of lower highs. And we may have them. We don't officially have them yet, but we may be starting to get that. There's the socks there. Same look. So good slice. Still above the 50 though. So still in okay shape. IGV, again, I love this. I love this technical here. I mean, gap up into these trend lines. I mean, just you can't make it any better than that. Bounce today up 89 cents. Came off the highs like everything else. Again, I'm going to say this is vulnerable if it does a bear flag type pattern. If we take this low out on a weekly close, then it's in much bigger trouble. But right now, little bounce there. Again, a lot of things just bouncing today, and we'll leave it alone. DJT, again, big gap and crap yesterday, up at 0.75% today. Weekly pattern is still okay though. All right, so rates. Look at the 2-year. I think the Fed funds futures are at, I think, like 50% now for June. I'm telling you, if this goes through these pivots, it's not going to happen. Like, so if we go through these pivots, we're going to 490 and then 5%. There's no way they can cut. It's just, what are they going to cut below the 2-year? It's not going to happen. So that's the big thing right now. Everybody hyper focused on the 10-year, but really it's the 2s that you need to watch as far as Fed policy. Higher lows, equal highs, got an ascending triangle / cup and handle look, whatever you want to call it. There's the 5s, same thing, 10s. I think this is poised for a move back up here, up to that trend line. And that would be around the 4.6 handle, and then the 30s, that can get up to 4.76. They may have another week or so of backing and filling, but I think that's where they're headed. Will that be enough to finally get the market to sell? And it's like, I was just talking about this. Like gold ripping, yields ripping, stocks ripping, even the dollar in a few days ripping, silver ripping, oil ripping. One of these guys has got to be wrong at some point. So we'll see here. But yields acting well, XHB getting a bounce there. So that is still holding up okay. ITB there, automatic. Muscle memory to type that one in. VNQ up 43 cents. Guess what? It's safe. So saved by the bell, and it lives to fight another day. So that pattern is still good on VNQ. Still bullish. XLF here up 39 cents. Again, reclaiming the 20 moving average. Again, still looks pretty top heavy, But again, it's had a big run. It's due for some backing and filling or a pullback. KRE up 2 cents. Again, I still don't like that on the weekly. KBE's weekly is better. And broker dealers were green today. That can still go higher. Just holding up here sideways. Oil up again. I think, well, per the COMEX close, futures were down per the COMEX close, up on the future. I don't know. I don't care. It doesn't. We'll say it was flat to negative. How about that? A little doji. Again, can still get up into the 90 handle. There is some resistance here at 88 or so, but 90 to 92, that's the big level for oil. If we go up there in a straight line, I think it could be fadeable too. XLE continues to power up. It's at getting close to that 98, 98.50 level we talked about. I know it's overbought on the daily, but the monthly 1, 2, 3 up after a huge base, it's nothing really wrong. I mean, look at what the spiders did here. 1, 2, 3 pullback, and then we had this big blast off. So when you see these big monthly chart patterns, they're powerful. Daily can be overbought for a while. So just remember that. XOP, OIH still going higher here. Again, I think they'll probably pull back when crude does. Uranium continuing to hold up here. CCJ having a good pop. It can, if it can just base beneath 50, then it'll go higher. So still bullish there. URNM, same kind of deal. Just needs to base. And the URNJ also, but pretty good outside move yesterday. That may need to do a little bit of backing and filling. Nat gas here was flat on the day. It was kind of all over the map. It's a little bit better now than it was yesterday. I'd say if it could continue to firm up, it can make a push higher, but I'd like to see a little bit more out of it. So it's still kind of neutral on that right now. Dollar index had a good pop, but came way off the highs. Look at this. Big pump on the NFP, and then right back down, and then just flatlined into the close. Overall, trend is still up right now. And if this can just stay firm and put in higher lows, it can attack 105 again. If it breaks 105, it's going to 106. So dollar up, gold up, yields up, market up, VIX up. Look at the VIX was finished down 32 cents. Look at the VIXy up 29 cents. I noticed this all day long too. This did not waver. I follow the VIXy on for the intraday because I like it actually has buyers and sellers. That hourly pattern's not bearish. So for this anyway, just something to keep in mind. Gold here again, much like what I was just saying about XLE. Yes, it's overbought in the daily, but you put in a 13-year base to get there. And even inside of that, you put in a 4-year base inside of the 13-year base. So when these moves happen, they're powerful. Silver, new highs here. Again, yeah, 27.50 and then 28 are still my near-term levels there. Platinum, little kind of a test candle today. That looks okay. Palladium still in a range here. So a little bit on the softer side. Platinum looks a little bit better right now. Copper, green on the day, but still below this pivot right there at 425. But copper's still holding up. And of course, Bitcoin's still holding up. So it was red on the day, but you have higher lows here. You can make a case right now. I think we've got enough evidence here. Looks like a pretty solid wedge here. So I'd expect that to stay inside of that for a little longer. And I mean, your trend is up, so I would assume it's bullish. The only thing is I would like this weekly 20 MA to catch up to price. And then I think it can go higher. So Bitcoin's still okay here. All right, again, so spiders, again, a good recovery. But it's not like they didn't slam the door shut on the bears at all. Like I wouldn't even say for a minute. Like this was slamming the door shut on the bears right here. That slammed the door shut. Okay? This gap and go slammed the door shut. Came off the highs here, and we tried to pierce the 618. Had a textbook failed breakout pattern play out. intraday, and they kind of closed it at a neutral site right around 52. So it leaves the door open for that to be a point of control next week. Should be a lot of chop here, a lot of whipsaw, but this to me is the first real bear threat that we've had since October, the October lows, where we're actually doing technical chart damage, and we're not seeing the move get negated immediately the next day like we have previously. Plus, again, it feels like old news now, but going back to what I was saying earlier in this week, looking at the futures, the signs were there, right? We didn't have that V. I mentioned this like 3 or 4 times. Like, we didn't have that V shape on Tuesday. We didn't have the V shape on Wednesday in the overnight, where they just automatic zombie bid in the future. Oh, 2 a.m. Oh, here's a 40-point rally. Like, that wasn't there. So there were signs here that tides were starting to shift. But obviously we'll see next week here. And anyway, we'll wrap it up here. You guys take care. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys all next week.